show. And this afternoon, we're going to do a brief kind of a tutorial. I have special guests to explain what comedio cordis is. Comedio, you'll correct me on the pronunciation as well. Comedio cordis. What happened to that young man, uh, Damar Hamlin, the other night, football player, and he'll break it down. He'll put it in layman's terms, and he's also going to explain who he is, and as I said, give you the description on uh, what happened. And hey, let's bring him out now. Let's that's Doctor Mike Go Spinakis.
Wow. Always a
Yes,
big round of applause from your listenership.
there
Thank
you
you.
go. You're welcome. How are you?
Okay. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
My favorite kind of winter, 66 degrees.
All right, perfect,
It's
incredible.
global warming. That's a blessing for me.
But yeah, so a lot of people were you and I were talking, and they were getting panicky and freaking out because they thought what happened to that young man was a football injury.
Well, let's give a little disclosure here. We originally met over at Jamaica High School. You were the running backs coach, and I was covering the games, doctor covering the games. So we are a little prejudiced, and we do have a good deal more um, personal knowledge and experience concerning these matters than a lot of the knuckleheads who were chitter chattering off about the whole thing. So go ahead.
No, as I was saying that uh, the fact that you bring that up does tie in as far as the relationship with sports. Who you are, who I am, as far as I played the game, coached the game, still coach, and you were correcting the fact. Like I said, everybody hysteria. Once something like that young man fell, he collapsed, and they was right away. Oh, the running back shouldn't have spared him. They should, he didn't actually say spare him, but he said load his head. What are you gonna do when you're a running back? That's exactly what you do. That's how you run. So you noted and you pointed out that it wasn't a football injury. That's where I was going with that. I
Well,
want you.
I'll tell you what I heard. Oh, they got to stop that game. They got to outlaw. This is the ridiculous stuff that I hear. So, that is a more cognizant uh, discussion concerning people who have a little more knowledge about football. But I mean, I hear from a lot of the empty barrels out there. Oh, football is too dangerous. It's a collision sport. It's this, it's that. They shouldn't have it. Oh, people are going to die. Very, very carried away with this. None of it is accurate. So, but let's move forward here. Uh, the term commotio cordis meaning heart, commotion is the same word except without an N. Uh, Commotion means violent or turbulence, tumultuous motion, agitation, or disruption. That's exactly what it means. It means agitation of the heart. What happens is when there's a blow, the heart in a very small delineated area, the heart stretches and it disrupts the electrical impulse of the heart and what's to be the contraction of the atrium and then the ventricles. But in this case, it was the ventricles. The ventricles are, you have a right and left ventricle. Your left ventricle is the primary chamber of the heart that pumps all the blood to the rest of the body. Now, this diagram shows the area. You can't see my pointer on that, but you see the blue area there. And that's a very small area to have this occur. And if you look at the timing of the hit, your heart beats, a healthy, real healthy person is probably beating at 60 beats per minute at rest. So you have 1 beat per second. The event occurs at the rising of the peak of the T wave. And if you show that that one picture where it has the EKG, the graph, no, the next one. Okay, to the right, you'll see where the red line indicates the beginning of the elevation. That is at a 1 beat per second. That occurs between 1 and 3 milliseconds, a thousandth of a second. So if your heart is beating even faster, double, triple, I mean, I can't imagine that his heart is beating at 60 seconds while he's making 60 beats per minute while he's making a tackle. So the timing had to be so pinpoint that it would have occurred during that very, very short period of time. You're talking about thousands or less, actually talking less than thousands of a second to have that happen. So, but let's move forward. Commotio cordis is a blunt, non-penetrating trauma to the chest, resulting in an irregular heart rhythm. And this is without appropriate attention and split-second attention, this can lead to sudden death. Your beat, boom, 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 boom. Okay, that's a normal sinus rhythm. In a lot of people have heard of atrial fibrillations, which cause strokes because they cause heart attacks. Not heart attacks, but they cause a fibrillation is a chaotic, uncoordinated contracture. So if you've ever had in your leg or in your eye a little twitching, like a little fiber in your leg, not the whole leg spasming up, but just like a little fiber twitching on its own, flickering, those are fibrillations and fasciculations. Now, when a fibrillation occurs in your heart and your heart is quivering, it's not going boom, 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 boom. It goes, it quivers. The contractions aren't occurring organized. There's not repolarization and depolarization occurring. So there's not a full electronic transfer and contraction. That happens in your atrium. You could have blood clots form because the blood isn't getting pumped through that portion of the heart. When that starts again contracting normally, some of that blood, like I said, clots and then circulates through your body, and you could have a stroke, you could have an infarct of the lung, wherever these clots go and block the circulation. Now, when that happens in the left ventricle, which is the primary chamber of the heart that pumps blood throughout the whole body, that's a very dangerous situation. Most people call that a cardiac event, a heart attack. That's a very dangerous situation. And lots of times a patient in the stands will have an episode and he'll have a ventricular tachycardia and he'll have a rapid beat, but he won't have much of a pulse because he's having a very rapid ineffectual contraction. And then that leads to ventricular fibrillation. And that's when you come out with the AED and then you shock the heart. You try to stop the heart momentarily, and the heart will reinitiate the appropriate rhythm on its own.
Tell the viewers what an AAD is. What is that? What
That's
is that?
an, auto, an automated external defibrillator.
Okay.
And people are trained in
What does
CPR
that do?
and basic cardiac life support, and then you put the pads on, and you turn the machine on, you put the pads on, and then the machine guides you through the procedure. Now, he went into ventricular fibrillation because the blow stretched the cells. That's what they're hypothesizing causes this. They're still unsure, but it does disrupt the electrical impulse, and then it can send you into that chaotic, disorganized fibrillation, which means no blood is getting circulated. So that's a big problem. Now, the normal occurrence of this was pretty much what happened. You're okay, you're standing there, all of a sudden, your heart goes into fibrillation, there's no circulation, no new oxygen going to the brain, boom, you pass out. And they jumped on him rapidly and they hit him with the AED. They were pumping his chest with CPR. What they want to do is they want to circulate. They had oxygen on him. They had a bag valve mask, I believe, so they were forcing respirations in there with a high concentration of oxygen, and they were attempting to circulate the blood so that cells in his brain don't die. So that's what happened. I am absolutely stunned that they made that diagnosis and responded so rapidly. That was excellent work on their part.
So everything in this particular case was due to timing, even the hit. It was timing. It was bad timing because, as you explained, what was going on. It wasn't a
And
pre-existing. People
excuse
thought it
me?
was. People thought it was a pre-existing condition.
Right. That
Yeah.
can happen. That can happen, but not in, it doesn't, they don't believe it in this case. They can't tell you exactly whether commotio cordis occurred. That's a guess. That's a clinical, educated, working diagnosis. But they do know that he was in ventricular fibrillation. Now, what else caused it? It doesn't really matter. The treatment and the restarting of his heart and the oxygen was all correct. Was exactly what you're saving this guy's life because he's going to be dead in a few seconds. So that was all correct. They're assuming it was this. You know, if it wasn't this, he might have had a heart attack on his own. But they're pretty sure, and it fits it fits all the elements to be this.
But you
So
were telling me that this happens more so in baseball, and that with a
absolutely correct.
this
In
young man
19,
was 24 years old, and you were saying that sometimes it could be teenagers. Like
usually,
I have a
yeah,
with this young man here. So because
14 to 18, 14 and a half is the mean age.
mhm,
You could pull up the one let me, the one paper, uh, okay, from 1996 to the spring of 2007, the USA National Commotio Cordis Registry, they started to register incidences of this occurrence, had 188 cases recorded, with about half occurring during organized sports. Almost 96% of the victims were male and of the mean age of 14.7 years old. And fewer than 1 in 5 survived at that time. So that wasn't that good. And it also happens, and
The
there's a
youngest,
big deal with lacrosse.
what's the youngest case history, if you know, where
I
age?
couldn't tell you what the youngest was.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, what happens is it happens to younger kids. It's mostly male because the males are the predominant participants in sports. It happens in softball too. Uh, but their frames, their rib cages are very elastic. The bones have a lot of cartilage in them. They'll ossify as they get older, but at that age, they're very elastic. So there's a lot of deflection, and particularly when something like a baseball, lacrosse ball hits them. And a lot of
You
the
also,
cases,
from what you explained, you said that with baseball, you said it happens more so in baseball than anything. Even the catchers, they're sitting behind the plate, and
mostly catchers.
even with the protective gear, it
Yep.
still can. Okay.
The catchers, the goalies in lacrosse also have enormous protective gear, even more so than the baseball catchers. But yeah, it doesn't really help much. They attempted to use a softer ball for little league, and they attempted to use additional padding, and then they have these hard chest protectors, covering that area and that don't give it all. Uh, and it's really not showing much of a change, not at least statistically. So that's a big problem. The oldest individual on record at this point in time, or well, just as far as a published paper in 2002, a gentleman of the age of 33 years old experienced the commotio cordis. So it happened all the way up to 33. We got a 24-year-old prime of his life athlete, and we had a recreational athlete. I believe that was soccer that happened. It could have been softball. I'm not sure. I don't recall. Um, so 190 reported cases, 47% uh, during athletic participation. That was of 2009. This is the second most common cause of sudden cardiac death in athletes.
Wow. Incredible. So, uh, the point being that this
The
wasn't
occurrence of commotio cordis is related to time of impact during the cardiac cycle. Direct impact over the heart
nothing to
and
do
the
with
hardness and speed of the projectile or the force.
had nothing to do with a football injury.
Uh, Not really. No, no.
Okay.
I mean, football guys get hit all the time. It's not unusual. I mean, listen, if if we were online at the airport and you bumped into me and I like moved my elbow back, for all that, I could have done it just the same if everything happened accordingly.
Again,
So
timing.
yeah,
But
exactly. The
yeah,
resuscitation and defibrillation was effective in only 15% of the cases. Resuscitation within 3 minutes resulted in a survival rate of 25%, 17 out of 68 cases. Survival drops to 3% when resuscitation is delayed beyond 3 minutes.
You know,
Now,
Doc,
the survival rate has risen from 10% to 15% since 2001, and I believe it's up to 20%. But, I mean, you think about it. You have seen me in action. I'm on the line of scrimmage. The referees have a very good understanding with me, and they let me follow the line of scrimmage, knowing that I can see what goes on. I can be out there quickly. Now, think about it. 3 seconds. Lots of times it takes me 3 seconds to get there. If I see the kid doesn't have a heartbeat, I call for the AED. How long do you think that's going to be? That's trouble. That's not easy. That's not easy to do.
and that's why teams are penalized very heavily if they don't have the AAD on the sideline, on their side at that time, because it's so vital. It might seem insignificant at the time because it's the start of the game, it's the beginning of the game, everything is good, right? It's healthy. But that AAD,
AED,
that's what saved that man's life. AED.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And how many times have we used our AED?
None that I can remember.
Exactly. None. None. Because listen to me, if I had to use that AED, I would remember it. Oh my God. I go to these games and I have a prayer that I never have to do anything like that. Dislocated shoulders,
No,
hard hits to the abdomen, this, that, cuts, this. But no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that for any of our kids.
so Doc, you know what? You've been great. Explain, tell the viewers who you are, your credentials, and where you can be reached, and uh, who is Dr. Mike and what's he about? Dr. Spinacles, not Dr. Mike, Dr. Spinacles.
Well, I started when I graduated chiropractic school. I went over to CW Post, and then I did my athletic trainer hours over there. I also did strength and conditioning for a bunch of years, and taught kinesiology and biomechanics. Later
Mm.
on, I became the New York State Director for the National Strength Conditioning Association, and got further into coaching, strength coaching, and medical game coverage. Somewhere around 2000, I started covering large tournaments for wrestling in the PSAL, and then was asked by one of the football coaches, John Adams, to cover their games. And I covered games between John Adams and Jamaica High School in excess of 10 years. So I've been doing this for, geez, I don't know, 20, maybe 92. So, yeah, about 25 years at least. So,
Not your first rodeo, as they say, huh?
nah, I tell you, funny thing is, uh, I have a long, over a decade with the PSAL in football alone, but the most educating uh, part of my experiences came when I covered the New York Sanitation football team. They have a tackle football team that plays against uh, the fire department and also the police department. Now, the league that they play in, the league countrywide of all the other football teams for police department and fire departments. Uh, New York City, obviously, the fire and police department are the largest and many times the best teams. And one year, I have no idea, but what happened was sanitation didn't have had a hiring freeze for 10 years. So our youngest player was 30 years old. The fire department has 24-year-old guys, police department, and these guys thought for some reason that they were going to do a couple of run through the plays 3 weekends on one Sunday for each weekend, and they were going to be ready to play. Well, that season, every game I had a career-ending injury.
Wow.
Broken fibula. I have beautiful pictures of a torn hamstring. Picture book. One guy had his bell rung. I can. I had a dislocated knee
So,
over at
viewers, what does that
police
mean?
department.
What does that mean when your bell rung?
Concussion.
All right, but
So
you know, people don't know what that means. They say bell rung, but
there's guys who aren't part of the circle might not know the
yeah,
sporting circle.
exactly.
But I had a knee pop out. I had a shoulder pop out. The PSAL. I mean, I pop shoulders in regularly.
You know, it's interesting that you use that phrase, that terminology, bell rung, and because years ago, like when I played, you got your bell rung. It was no big, not no, can't say not a big deal, but they put the smelling salt on you.
We shook it
You,
off.
you shook it off. There wasn't a concussion protocol. It wasn't even considered a concussion, actually.
Right.
They just did the smelling salt. You sat out for a couple of plays and you were back in, and that was it. I've seen a lot of guys get their bell rung. I never had my bell rung. Thank God. I've been hit in the solar plex, had the wind knocked out of me, and that felt like, once you're laid out there, I don't know what death is, but it's that is not a pleasant feeling at all. Can't
I've had
breathe.
it too, and you just lay there like this. You can't move. You can barely breathe.
Yeah, yeah. It's not good, and but yeah, I never was laid out to the point. I hit one time. I hit a guy running on kickoff. I'll never forget it. And he had the ball. He was ball carrier on the kickoff return, and I hit him so hard, and I laid out. I thought I should have been hurt. That's how hard I hit him. I thought because the impact was it was crunching, but I
Right.
was good. I was fine. No pain, no nothing. But I thought, this something's got to be wrong. I
Yeah.
have to be, that kind. Because when I seen that young man get hit, it wasn't a hard hit necessarily. The kid, the running back, ran into him, but like you cleared it up as far as that the timing on both sides, or on both ends, as far as like what was going on, in his with his heart, uh, as you said, you described it, and then the timing of the hit and the location. More so importantly, I think you would had pointed out the location of the hit, like with that baseball, the point in those graphs that we brought up. But doctor, I want to thank you. You've been great as always. I'll have you back if you want to come back. We want to talk about something. You want to bring something to my attention as always.
Well, how about we leave with a funny story, since we were talking about getting your bell rung. We were up in the Bronx, and I don't know if it was Truman. I think it was Truman. I don't think it was Lehman, but it could have been somebody else up there. And we're playing, and then one of their players gets his bell rung. I'm over there, and we're talking to him, and I said, "Son, what's your name?" Gives me a name, and I'm asking him questions, and I'm seeing how he responds, because it's not the answer; it's how he responds. And one thing I must say is, I've never had a problem in PSAL with coaches trying to make these guys play after they get hit in the head. Our guys are very good as far as that's concerned. Never have. It's always well, let's sit him out, and maybe if he's fine, he can come back for the quarter if there's any question. But anyhow, so we're asking him, and I told him, I said, yeah, let him sit out. I says, don't worry about it. We don't really need him. He doesn't have to play the rest of the game. And then one of their players comes over and nudges me. And I said, yeah. And he said, Doc, that's not his name. And then I said, that's not his name. He said, yeah, I don't know. I think he failed out last semester, so he was using some other kid's name who passed. So I said, oh, okay, as long as he remembered the other kid's name appropriately, so is everything working right in his head.
One time, this guy got his bell rung, and the doc went over and he hit with the smelling salt, and he asked, the questions and stuff, but your name, he did know that. He said, "Where are you?" He always asked that. He said, "Earth." He's Earth. He was on Earth. So, at least he got that right. We were on Earth, but he was out of it. I mean, because you're all fuzzy. I've seen some guys sometimes just stare up. They have no clue, not only where they are, who they are. Yeah. So, but
one of the problems on the field is lots of times with the sun above you, and the guy's lying on his back, and I'm trying to look at his eyes to see if his eyes are glazed. I can't really see that well because the sun is in his eyes, so his pupils are constricted anyway.
Right.
So it makes for difficulties. I usually ask them, what play was that you just ran? If they're offense, or what were you supposed to be doing? What happened? I ask them specific questions in reference to the football game that they should know.
Well, sometimes that could be a stretch too. A lot of those kids don't know the plays. They don't.
Yeah, I know that's the problem. They don't know what they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, they don't have the clue. So you're throwing a curveball at them and not realizing that. But even asking them where they're at, like I said, the young man, Coach Whitfield, the head football coach over at Jamaica, was telling the story about how one of the players, his feet were hurting. And,
I know this one.
Yeah, and
He was playing the whole game.
played the whole half, and he said, "Coach,
look at this guy already."
my feet are my feet hurt." And come to find out, he had his cleats on the wrong feet. And I mean, how old is he? 17, 18? But everybody's different, and certain young men's capacities are not as good as others, and not on point. It happens, unfortunately.
Hey, I'm just happy because I know that most of them, by the time they grow up, they'll get some sense in their head.
Well,
that
Doc,
they're young and stupid, and hopefully they'll be old and smart.
I appreciate you, Doc. Say thank you. And that was just here with Dr. Spanakos. And have the good rest of your day. Hey, we capped it off. We did 34 minutes, and that was good. You explained, you broke it down. And I'll put this up on the profile for anybody that just wants to view that. And then it's like a tutorial.
One other thing concerning the issue. They did certain studies where they tried to replicate this incident occurrence with pig hearts, and they found that 20-mile-an-hour impacts couldn't cause ventricular fibrillation. That uh, when you went to 25, you had a 7% increase, and then when you got up to 40 miles per hour, you had a 68% increase. So after 40, it rapidly dropped off. So it's not really the hard hit.
Right. You
You
covered
know,
that. It's all
yeah.
good.
But they actually have studies with regards to that. That's not my opinion. That's not your opinion. It's just it's not a hard hit. So, but anyway, hey, I hope everything works out. From what I understand, they have the guy on ice. They're trying to minimize any neurological damage, and they're going to be bringing him out of the medically induced coma when they think he's ready for it. So hopefully, we got to see exactly how much time uh, he didn't have oxygen to the brain, because that'll determine uh, uh, how well he'll recover. Because physically, he's not gonna have that much of a problem. Some people have had decreases in ventricular ejection, and that's probably because of damage to the heart. Um, but we'll see.
We'll
We'll
see.
see.
Thank you,
All right,
Doc.
Coach.
All right. Have a good day. We'll talk later.
You too. Talk
Thank you.
again. Bye.
Yes. Bye. That was Dr. Mike Spinacos. And he was breaking down in layman's terms what happened the other night with Damar Hamlin with the cordios cordis, Comito cordis, excuse me. And thank you for tuning in. And I just want to point out next Thursday on that was at January 12th, okay, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm gonna have Belinda Trotter-James. She's a media queen. She has Blown Woofer magazine with media Modelocity, it's called. She's an author of 4 books, and she hustles between the communications and entertainment field. She does her thing, and she's good at it. And she's going to come in and talk about how it's difficult or the challenges for young, uh, aspiring models in the fashion industry, in the beauty industry. She's been in it since 1974, and she's international. She just got back from Europe. She was in Italy, and she's going to share with us some stories about how culturally uh, she was the rappers and stuff. I saw a couple of videos. It was interesting because she has interviewed like Big E, Pac, and 50 DMX and LL. So she's going to share those stories with us, and that's January 12th. Belinda Trotter-James. Then I'll have in on the 17th Danny Simmons, who's an art aficionado, art abstract artist, and he's the older brother of Reverend Ron and Russell Simmons. But check me out on this 12th, next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's it for now. We just wanted to come in with a short, a little educational piece, just to kick it around. And I want to thank Dr. Spinacos again. And I want to thank you. And please have a good day. It's a good 2023, safe, healthy, and happy. And always, I leave you with this: hug your loved ones and tell them you love them. Stay safe, stay positive, stay up, and you can't be in the wrong if you're doing the right thing. I want to say God bless you, peace, and have a great rest of your day.